As you know, this is homecoming week, and one of the many aspects of this week is to honor a Jesuit alumnus as Alumnus of the Year. This year's honoree of the class of 1962 is Mr. Jim Ryder. In many ways, I think Mr. Ryder typifies and exemplifies the best that we hope for at Jesuit High School. A man who consistently serves others, a man who lives out his faith, and a man who does so without asking for any reward and without any fanfare. Certainly one of those who consistently, persistently, and always does what is expected of him, going beyond that, more often than not, with generosity. He has been of great help both to Jesuit High School and to Dominican High School, where his daughters attended school, and to many other organizations and nonprofits and charitable institutions in the city. Very much lives out, day by day, what it is to be a man for others. Thus, I have found him an example for me, and I now am honored to present to you this year's Alumnus of the Year, Jim Ryder.
Well, good morning. When I was a Jesuit, I could never have dreamt I'd be standing here addressing the student body. I mean, literally here. This was about 150 feet out into the schoolyard then. What would I be doing in the middle of an intramural basketball court talking to the students? The campus certainly has changed since I've been here. Obviously no resource center, no commons, no traditions. Courtyard, if you look to the back, all you would see are a row of houses back where the Will Clark Field is today. Not even a Roussel building. But even though physically the campus has changed a lot, I suspect our experiences are pretty much the same. You know, I began Jesuit in the 8th grade, and came where I was pretty much BOC on the grammar school campus, didn't have to work too hard to get good grades, and all of a sudden here now I'm in an environment with 104 other 8th graders who are all BOCs on their particular campus. Although I have to say there were some exceptions. I mean, not everybody was a Mensa candidate. We had some people in our class whose elevator didn't quite reach the top floors. But once we matriculated through and walked across that stage to get our diplomas, I think our experiences will pretty much be in sync. We'll have matured intellectually, spiritually, culturally. They even tried to make cultural persons out of us here at Jesuit High School. We had a teacher, Mr. Borbidge, who taught a civics course, and it was pretty freewheeling. Most of the course was devoted to him coming in with his phonograph and playing classical music and trying to get us to acquire a taste for classical music. Phonographs. If you Google that, you'll find that's a device used by some ancient civilizations to reproduce music. You know, I know that it's not quite common to you today. But again, we will be pretty much at the same place at the end of the day, whether it be 50 years ago when I graduated or in the near future when you graduate. I mean, it's not to say that every experience was a high. You're going to experience some lows along the way, and I can think of a few that occurred in my career at Jesuit High School. We were fortunate to have a whole lot more Jesuits on the faculty then, who enlightened our hearts and minds and helped us advance in wisdom's bright careers. But even there were a few exceptions. I remember a physics teacher who was solely responsible for my not working for NASA now, who, after about 5 minutes in the classroom, we all smelled blood and realized this guy's dead meat. We're going to control him for the whole time he's teaching us his course. And he did provide a full-time job for the prefect of discipline to monitor the halls of his classrooms. But one particular experience, there was a classmate who's now a prominent physician in New Orleans. I won't obviously name him, but he had a talent of throwing his voice. And every time this teacher would turn his back to write something on the board, he would say something disparagingly and he could never get caught. Well, by the end of the semester, he was so frustrated, the teacher was so frustrated, he offered 15 points on the final grade for anybody who would be a whistleblower and turn this guy in. Well, 10 guys turned themselves in because they all needed the points on that final exam. Another low point had to do with my undistinguished football career at Jesuit. you're not going to find my one career interception in the record books anywhere, but my name is on a brick somewhere out there along with the members of the 1960 state championship team. And it was coached by the legendary Ken Tarzetti. Well, Ken had a style that would make the traditional hard-nosed coaches of his age, Bear Bryant, Vince Lombardi, look like bleeding hearts. I mean, it's literally just by good fortune that he didn't kill any of us. I mean, his attitude was, you got tough if you didn't have any water at practice. For 2 years on the varsity, we never had a drop of water at practice, even during the August two-a-days. Ken was very successful, but as I mentioned, as a junior, we won the state championship. Our senior team wasn't quite as successful. Although we had a winning record, we had the misfortune of losing the first home game at what was then City Park Stadium, now Tad Gormley, in Coach Tarzetti's career. So after the game, he let us kind of wallow in our own tears in the locker room for a while. And he came in and gave a post-game locker room speech that I remember verbatim to this day. He looked us all in the eye and said with all the sincerity he could muster, "You make me want to puke, get on the bus." That was Ken's style. It didn't destroy our fragile psyches. We still managed to go through the rest of life relatively unscathed. But I want to just give you some advice or some insight of somebody with a long-term perspective of your careers at Jesuit High School. Remember, this is somebody who's made the turn and is playing the back nine of life right now. That your years here at Jesuit are going to go by quickly. You may not think so as you take those exams or struggle to get that paper turned in time. But believe me, it will pass in a flash, particularly as you get older. But there are ways, and this is some advice I gave to the alums at the homecoming mass yesterday, but I think it's even more apropos to you guys who are yet to become alums. You can leverage these years into a lifetime experience by doing a couple of things. One, stay close to each other. The friends you make at Jesuit High School are truly friends for life. You know, there was a popular song when I was graduating called, appropriately enough, Graduation Day. But the refrain went something to the effect of, although we all might try, we may never meet again. Well, don't let anything close to that happen. Stay close to your friends. Even when you go away to college or move out of town, try to keep in contact. If you find yourself in another part of the country, look for other Blue Jays. There are alumni associations in 6 or so cities around the country, large groups in about 12 other cities. I'm sure Matt would be glad to give you information about Blue Jays in your area. But please stay close to each other. The second thing is to stay close to Jesuit High School. Stay connected. Do the simple things. Make sure the alumni office has good contact information. If you're fortunate enough to have sons follow you at Jesuit High School, be an active parent and get involved. If you're not, if you don't have sons as legacies or they've already moved on, look on the website. There are dozens of ways to volunteer to do things at Jesuit High School. LEF callers, host at home at the open house, preparing the Thanksgiving baskets. There's just any number of things that you can do to stay connected to Jesuit High School. And I have to say, coming from the financial background, one of the things you really need to do is continue to support Jesuit financially. You know, I know it's a burden on your parents to send you here, a financial burden, but believe me, compared to every other Jesuit high school in the southern Missouri provinces, our tuition here is less by not a little, but by a whole lot. And it's all due to the generosity of the alums, the graduates, and the parents. So try to support Jesuit High School in any way you can. And when you do these things, when you stay connected to each other, when you stay connected to Jesuit High School, you will find, like me, when you're going down the 18th fairway of life, not walking, but being driven in a cart, you know, you'll fully realize how true the words of the fight song are. It is blue and white for all the days of life. Thank you, parents.